Good evening. My name is Paul, and I'm a very sensitive alcoholic. And I'm delighted to be here tonight. I've enjoyed the weekend. Are you having a good weekend?
Yeah.
If you're not, you might ask yourself whose fault it is. I'm delighted to be here in Bakersfield. It's nice to be invited. It's nice that you invited Max and and I don't know why you asked her to speak, but it was nice to be here. It was nice to be able to drive up here and bring our two Silly Lily and Silly Little Sabrina, our two little Alla dogs. They've enjoyed being here. They've enjoyed the food. I have my boutonniere bag is a good thing for a snack for the dog, and they're anxious for me to get home and give it to them. And they asked me to give you their greetings. They get to a lot of meetings. They're real Alla dogs. They get to a lot. They need a lot of meetings, as a matter of fact. They get to more meetings than a lot of people that are trying to stay sober. They have nicer personalities than a lot of people that are trying to stay sober. Being here in Bakersfield, I always love Bakersfield. The accommodations are nice, the facilities here are nice, and brings back a lot of happy memories for us. Max and I were talking about some of the happy occasions we've had here. In fact, we were talking about some of the time we'd spent with Chuck and Elsa C. here, and maybe remember one night we were going home from having been to a meeting and then having gone to Chuck and Elsa's house and talked the program, and we were on our way home, and I said to Max, I said, let's be careful. Let's be careful about this thing. Let's not get too involved in this thing. Let's not turn into these AA fanatics like Chuck is. And she agreed. We'd have to be careful. Now let that happen. I was thinking the other day, the day before Thursday, before we drove down here on Friday, I'd gotten up at 6 in the morning, and as is my wont, I went out to my computer and turned it on and typed off a fast letter to God. I type as fast as I can, automatic typing. Dear God, here we go again. Let's see what you can do with this one. You've been doing a good job. Just keep it up and let's go. And I type as fast as I can without paying any attention to punctuation or anything else. And it's amazing the answers, the intuitive answers and the spiritual thoughts that they come to me while I'm doing this automatic typing. I used to do automatic writing, and I love to type. I love to see words appear. And it's a great way to start a day for me. When I got through with that, I went in and made Max a cup of coffee, got in the car and drove down to my 7:30 meeting, and had a real good morning meeting. I need a meeting in the morning because I can wake up, my day's ruined and it hasn't even started yet. And I have a morning meeting that it's daily. It's in every morning. I go there every morning except for the days when I don't. And so a guy asked if he could talk to me, and I reluctantly said, yeah, he could come with me when I go for my walk. I go for a 25-cent walk. After I leave the meeting halfway home, there's a San Clemente Beach Park is there. I pulled into the parking lot, put a quarter in the meter, it gives me an hour. I can walk as fast as I can down the beach, and 26 minutes later, there's a post. I go around the post, which is exactly a mile away, and if I get back within the next 30 minutes, it doesn't cost me any extra money. I have a fiduciary interest in making that trip in an hour. And this guy went with me, and he talked about a problem, and we talked AA all the way down about how to apply it in your work. I got home, had a quick breakfast with Max, and received 3 phone calls from people that I have asked to give me a call every day if they feel like it. Sometimes people ask me would I like to sponsor them, and I said, well, I don't know whether you'd like it or not. I said, I'll tell them, why don't you call me every day for 30 days or 60 or 90, whatever I say. Get rid of a lot of people that way. They say, they don't want sponsorship that bad, for God's sake. You're going to take this thing seriously, to hell with it. But these fellows give me a call. We had nice talks about how their day had been going so far and how it was going to go the rest of the day, what they were going to do about it. A doctor came, and he'd spend an hour with me talking about sponsorship. I had to get rid of him because I had to hurry up and get a quick bite and get to the 1:30 meeting that I was going to lead. led the meeting, and a guy had called me earlier to talk about a problem, and I said, come to the 1:30 meeting with me, we'll let you participate and hear more about the problem. He did. Stayed for an hour afterwards. We stood around and talked about the problem and how to apply the problem to it, the program to it. Went home, and I took 3 more phone calls. We drove up to Orange to a meeting that another guy and I started up there, Quiz the Winner. Had ate at the restaurant with a group of AA people. Had to hurry to get to the meeting at 7:30 that I was leading, and talked to a newcomer after the meeting for half an hour. Max and I had a meeting on the way home, back to Laguna Niguel. Just got in the door, and John M. from a doctor up in the Seattle area that I sponsored called to make his weekly call and tell me that make arrangements to come down next week. He's going to come down and visit. And hung up from him, and 2 minutes later I got another call from Seattle, Frank N., that many of you know, was from the Orange County area that I sponsor, and he's going to be taking a vacation down here, and he was making his monthly report. And I went to bed, and I said to Max, geez, I'm really glad we never did turn into these AA fanatics, you know. It's a good thing we had that agreement. I'd had to stay up all night. So anyway, I'm glad to be here. I enjoyed what Greg had to say about changing the traditions where we could hire social workers. It seemed like that might be a good idea. And I liked what was it Joan was saying, or Joyce was saying about the things that we had tried. Things that we had tried to stay sober. We could increase the list ad infinitum. When she said that, I was recalled that just this last Easter, I got an Easter card from a doctor who had sent me a picture of a doctor in a doctor-surgeon scrub suit, and he was turning on a tank of anesthetic gas, and it had a tube and a mask on it, and he was going to give himself a little gas. The doctor was going to get gassed. The reason this doctor sent me this Easter card, because he had heard that was one of the things that I had tried. Only on which I want to prove to you that I was willing to go to any lengths to take care of my drinking problem. Any length short of quitting drinking. In these days, back in this day, you know, psychiatrists are doctors who are convinced that there's somehow, somewhere they can find the right pill or chemical or drug to give to us to make our lives easier for us to survive in. They don't know we've already tried everything. But back in the days when I was drinking, there was a belief around in the medical literature that you could use carbon dioxide inhalations would help psychoneurosis. Now, carbon dioxide is an odorless gas that stimulates your breathing. The more you breathe of it, the harder you breathe, the deeper you breathe, the faster you breathe, the more short of breath you feel. And the more short of breath you feel, the harder you try to get the air in. And if you're breathing carbon dioxide gas, it keeps stimulating an overly stimulated thing. And the more you breathe, faster, and pretty soon the bells are ringing, the lights are flashing, and things going around your head, and finally your brain explodes and you pass out. I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. I have to try some of that. I thought I'd rather be neurotic than be an alcoholic. I couldn't go to some doctor and say, doctor, I'd like a little gas. And I was a doctor. What the hell do I need a doctor for to do it? So I called up the gas place and ordered a tank of carbon dioxide gas. I'm a doctor, I can do that, by God. And great big truck pulls up in front of the house, you know. I get a big dolly and get a tank of gas about so big and about that big around, probably weighs 150, 200 pounds. Gets it off the truck, gets it on the dolly, runs it up right through the front door of the house, on into the master bedroom, up by the head of the bed. Doesn't every bedroom have a tank of gas, you know, and a tube and a mask? Well, you see, I did need a little help. Here I am, I'm going to breathe this stuff until I pass out. And when I pass out, I need somebody with a modicum of brains to turn the gas off, take the mask off my face. So I go into Max, and she's there watching television. I said, I'm going to give myself a treatment. Get well. When I pass out, I want you to come in and take the mask off my face and turn the gas off. Turn it this way, as far as it'll turn. He said, okay. So I go in and I go lay down on the bed. It's time for me to get well now. And I lie down and put the mask on my face, and I turn the gas on, and I start breathing and stuff, and I breathe faster and faster and faster and faster, deeper and deeper, and the lights are going, and the bells are ringing, and things like that. Finally, my brain explodes, and I pass out. When the commercial comes on, Max walks in the bedroom. The point of the story was it didn't work, you know. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had to come to AA. Well, I like the way John read. I always pay attention when people are reading out of the book. That book, that seems kind of important to me. And I don't see one here. Apparently, I can't afford one here at this time. But I'm sure there must be one around someplace. But they're reading this thing about. I try to hear a word or an inflection or any part of it's a little different or something to make it stick in my mind. And I just have I have just accepted everything that's in that first 164 pages of the book. If it's there, you know, it's first 164 pages, it's true. I just decided it's true. I haven't proven it's true, but I've accepted the fact that for me it's true, and I just don't have to think about it. I just accept it without any problem. And I have no problems with accepting everything that's there in the book. If I did have problem, it would probably be that phrase many of us exclaim, "What an order, I can't go through with it." I'm sure it's true. Wouldn't be there if it weren't true. But I've never heard anybody exclaim, "What an order." But it's true. It's true. I'm sure. So I was down in Lakewood one night, and I heard some young gal get up there and read that. And apparently, in one of the translations or something, or getting into the book, it may have been that some of the punctuation marks were lost in the transcript or something. She was reading that through there, and she says, many of us exclaim, "What? An order? I can't go through with it." Somehow it makes more sense the way she read it. Anyway, this was a good meeting. I mean, a good weekend. I've enjoyed that. I enjoyed the Al-Anon meeting this afternoon. Yeah, I'm glad. I want to talk to the ones of you that weren't there. The ones that were there. I'm not even going to try to straighten out that story Max told. But now there's a lot of Al-Anons here in the meeting tonight. I know. I can feel the vibration. Don't laugh now. Don't laugh. You should never laugh at the Al-Anons. You really shouldn't. Our book speaks very kindly of them. It says right there, they're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. Yeah. Now don't laugh. Don't laugh. We get some of our best customers from Al-Anon. You shouldn't really laugh at them. In fact, I understand here in Bakersfield there's a few people that are having trouble making this program. And this Al-Anon, you ought to look at the Al-Anon, you know, it's an interesting organization. They've got our steps, all of them. And I got our traditions. Sometimes they even sneak a look at our book. I heard the other day one of them used our book for how to do 4-step. And they've got our steps and traditions and serenity prayer and our literature. They've got our whole program, and they can drink too. Yeah. It might be just what some of you are looking for, you know. I think Al-Anon's wonderful. Have we ever got them fooled though? You know, we get some of our best customers from Al-Anon, and we got them so fooled that they think it's a step up when they become an alcoholic. But I love Al-Anon. I've gone to a lot of their meetings, and one of the things I found out about Al-Anon is they have not patented that release stuff. It's possible we can steal that. We can practice release too. And they got a book. It says "Living with an Alcoholic." I've been thinking about writing a book on living with a practicing Al-Anon. They can be released too. Anyway, I'm actually glad to be an alcoholic. I enjoy coming. I come to meetings for the fun of it. I know I have to come, but I don't like to come because I have to come. I'd rather come for the fun of it. I didn't hear the girl say it, but I heard of a girl who said that she used to drink for the fun of it, and she drank for the fun of it until it got to be a habit, and she drank out of habit until she reached the point where she had to drink. And finally it got so bad she had to go to AA, and she went because she had to until it became a habit. Now she goes for the fun of it. And I would much rather there's a lot of fun in AA. And that's why I always say, people say to me, have a good time. And I always think, well, if I don't, it's my own fault. If I don't enjoy this program, it's my own fault. If I don't enjoy my sobriety, it's my own fault. If I don't enjoy my marriage, it's my own fault. One of the things what made my mind flash back to, but I was thinking about the Al-Anons, I haven't seen a show of hands. I need that. I went up to the Seattle area for a while, for a year, and they don't have a show of hands up there. In fact, they're not like Angie said that they weren't doing AA right in Blythe. No matter where you go, they don't do it right. If you leave California to go there, Southern California, the funny part is, up in Seattle, they don't even care that they're not doing it right. But I'd like to see a show of hands. We almost always have a quorum in an AA meeting. Could we see the hands of all the alcoholics? Will you please raise your hand? Yeah, we definitely have a quorum. Let's give ourselves a hand. Sure be a dull AA meeting without us, wouldn't it? What about newcomers? Could we see the hands of people with less than 30 days since their last drink or last bit of mind-affecting drug? There's a few way in the back. More? Will you stand up, please? 30 days or less of your sobriety. You'll get a hand if you stand up. Well, you just learned your first practical lesson in how to stay sober. You do stupid things that people suggest you do. You know, I could say keep coming back, but hell, you might as well. You just ruined your reputation. You know, no place else to go. This is as bad as it gets. You're at the bottom of the social barrel, and it keeps getting better after this. But that's the way it works in AA. You do things because somebody suggested it, even though you know it's dumb. Sometimes you do it just to prove it won't work, and it still works. You know? AA would only be half as big as it is if that isn't true. If that weren't true. How about Al-Anons? Let's see the hands of the Al-Anons. Don't be embarrassed now. Put your hands up. Oh, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Al-Anons are quickly addicted to compliments. You know, don't want to spoil them. I used to drink. You have to drink. But I wasn't an alcoholic. In fact, I didn't become an alcoholic till I'd been coming to these meetings for 7 months. And before that, I used to drink because everybody drinks. We live in a drinking society. You have to drink. People get insulted if you don't drink. I mean, asked you in weddings and all kinds of parties and stuff. And if you didn't drink, they'd be very insulted. And so you have to drink. And I would periodically get accidentally intoxicated. But it was always by accident. Because I mixed my drinks, or I drank on an empty stomach, or I got some bad booze. But it's always by accident that I got any problems with that. I wasn't one of those dumb alcoholics who know what they're doing and they do it anyway. But I drank. But I wasn't an alcoholic, and I didn't become an alcoholic till, as I said, until I've been coming to these meetings for 7 months. This is where you get alcoholism. Meetings like this. It's a contagious disease. You pick it up. That's why meetings always have a show of hands, so you know who you're sitting beside. You know, you don't get alcoholism by what you put in your mouth or what you drink. You get alcoholism by what you listen to. If you're at a meeting, if you're here tonight, you're not really, really, really an alcoholic. You want to be careful what you listen to. This is how you get it. This is where the alcoholics are. In fact, I've never yet had anybody ask for a show of hands at an AA meeting and you didn't get the same response. You almost always have a quorum at an AA meeting. You know, there's a lot of alcoholics at AA meetings. Try that. Go down the street here to the bar and say, I'm running a survey. Would all the alcoholics please raise their hand? You won't get the same response down there. You won't get the same. There's no alcoholics down there in the bar. Alcoholics all have to go to meetings. They're all up here. I used to, as I said, I used to find myself accidentally drunk when I drank. The funny thing is, now that I'm an alcoholic, I don't even drink. I haven't been drunk since the last time I drank. Yes. But I couldn't quit. That was the funny thing, when I turned into an alcoholic, I got to thinking about how I should quit. If you're going to be an alcoholic and you can't drink, if you react peculiarly to the drug alcohol, then if you can't drink safely, sanely, sensibly, socially, you can't drink worth a damn, you ought not drink. Which meant I ought to quit. But it occurred to me that every time I had quit drinking, every time I had quit drinking, I had ended up drunk. And I thought to myself, this quitting drinking is bad on my health. I can't afford to quit drinking. I can't drink and I can't quit. Now what am I going to do? And I thought of some of this dumb stuff you say. You say it's the first drink that gets you drunk. Or if you don't drink today, you won't get drunk today. Or one's too many and a thousand's not enough. Or we just don't take one drink for one day. All that dumb, piddly stuff that you tell dummies. You don't say things like that to doctors, for God's sake. But I thought, well, I'll try it one day and see what happens. I just won't drink one day and see what happens. Nothing happened. I thought, well, I'll try it another day. Nothing happened that day. And I've been doing that each day since. I don't drink today. I drank many yesterday, and I'm certainly going to drink tomorrow, but I don't drink today. In fact, I don't think I'd be able to not drink today if I didn't know I was going to drink tomorrow. Drank many yesterday. I don't drink today. I'm going to drink tomorrow. And when tomorrow gets here, I'll check the time. And if it's today, I won't drink today. But I've had a lot of practice in that because I always lived my life that way. I was always going to be happy tomorrow. I was going to be happy and I was going to enjoy tomorrow. When my wife shaped up, or when my kids straightened out, or when I got another degree, or I got more money, or I got this, or I got that, I was too busy today, but I was going to be happy tomorrow. I was always going to be happy tomorrow. It was always tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. That's when I was going to be happy. And when tomorrow came, I wasn't happy anyway because I didn't recognize it. I thought it was today. So it's just not drinking today. It's been working. I do a few other things. I go to a few meetings and do the steps and a few other things. I don't know why my mind flashed to it, but this question of the bladder that Tinkerbell was talking about. I have a dual problem. I'm an alcoholic with a bashful bladder. And actually, I'm an alcoholic with dysnomia. I want you to know that. People think I'm self-centered and selfish, and I don't remember their names because I just don't care about anybody but myself. And that's not true. I have dysnomia. And I want you all to know that I have dysnomia. I used to think I was narrow-minded and not narrow-minded, self-centered. And I thought my computer was so full of thoughts about me, I didn't have any room for thoughts about you or what your name was or anything. But I was reading an article about dyslexia, big article about dyslexia in the LA Times. There are different kinds of dyslexia. One of the kinds of dyslexia is dysnomia. And the person with dysnomia has an inability to remember names and faces. And so when you see me and I don't know your name and face, don't think I'm self-centered and self-obsessed. Just think that poor fellow has dysnomia. That's my disease, and I want you to recognize that. And, the other disease, I have an alcoholic, and I'm an alcoholic with a bashful bladder. But there's no use me trying to explain the bashful bladder to you. If you know what it is, I don't need to explain. If you don't know what it is, I don't know use bothering to try. But all I say is that even if Alcoholics Anonymous wasn't keeping me sober, I'd still keep coming back to these meetings just for what it's doing for my bashful bladder. Although it hasn't helped the capacity any, my bladder capacity for AA coffee is no better than it used to be for beer. No, the capacity is no better at all. But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about the capacity because the aim has improved tremendously. And that's nice. I like that. Max liked that. I react peculiarly to the drug alcohol. It does funny things to me. It has a funny effect on my body. I'm very aware of the abnormal response I get from alcohol. I do weird and peculiar things when I drink alcohol. Even from way back, it affects my speech and it affects my emotions. I reach for something and I would trip when there was nothing to trip. I would find myself lying there on the floor. My brain would say, "Get up, you fool. People will think you're drunk." And my brain would say, "What do you mean, get up? We're paralyzed from the ears down." You know? And I'd lay there and think, isn't that strange that I can't move? Yeah. Isn't that odd that that we're paralyzed from the ears down? And I would lay there, as a matter of fact, and mentally leaf through the pages of Goodman and Gilman's textbook on pharmacology under alcohol poisoning, blood levels, and signs of intoxication, and look for paralysis from the ears down. Yeah, and I could never find anything in the book about being. And I thought, someday I'm going to have to ask somebody about that. If anybody else gets paralyzed from the ears down when they drink alcohol. And never found anybody I could trust to ask. You have to be careful about mentioning problems with drinking, or they're liable to tell you to quit drinking. And I didn't find that. But I found it was being of scientific interest that... being of scientific mind, it was interesting to lie there and wonder about it. Took my mind off my full bladder. Somehow the two went together all the time, being paralyzed from the ears down and having a full bladder. A bladder that absolutely refused to remain full. There'd be other times when I'd be drinking and I wouldn't have even begun to relax physically yet, and I'd get too relaxed mentally. It'd be like as if all my brain cells would get together and say, "Oh, what the hell? He's drinking anyhow. Let's take the night off." Yeah. It'd be like my brain cells would all go home and go to bed, and my body would go on doing things. Yeah. And in the morning, I'd try to figure out what my body had been doing when my brain was home in bed. You know? I never had figured out how you recall something that wasn't recorded at the time that it happened. Yeah. It's like getting up in the morning and turning on a TV set trying to catch last night's program. You just can't do that. You know. I just can't do that. I was working with Max trying to get her straightened out. She kept getting sicker and sicker. I sent her to 4 different psychiatrists and sent the kids to clinical psychologists, and even the dog was coming home with psychological treatment. I said, "What do you mean the dog just needs more love?" I said, "You go back and tell that idiot cat and dog doctor he's no Beverly Hills psychiatrist. All I want to know is, why does that dog wet in my lap when I'm holding him?" Strangely enough, that dog hasn't wet my pants since I joined AA. Yeah. And neither have I. And Max talked about me being rather callous and uncaring. And just the opposite. If anything, I cared too much. I used to read her positive thinking books. I sent her to these psychiatrists. I used to send her to charm classes. I did all kinds of things trying to help her to get well. The harder I worked on her case, the sicker she got. And the sicker she got, the harder I worked on it. She had the idea that I was her problem. It was obvious to me that she was my problem. Yeah. And we were like this. We were like crossed swords. The harder I was working on her, and she was working on me. And the harder we worked, the sicker we got. The sicker we got, the harder we worked. And we're hard workers. But it goes all the way back to I grew up during the Depression, and my parents had a drugstore. And when I was old enough, they sent me off to become a pharmacist. And I didn't like being a pharmacist. I wanted to be a doctor, but there was no money to send me to medical school. They didn't want me to be a doctor anyhow. They wanted me to stay home and run the family drugstore. So my solution to that was to marry the girl next door and suggest she work my way through medical school. And she did, and it seemed that people weren't very impressed with my medical degree any more than they were the pharmacy degree. And I thought they'd be more impressed if I had a specialty degree. So I said, "You're doing a good job, kid. You keep on working and we'll get us a specialty degree." And she did, and I did, and we got a specialty degree. And I specialized in internal medicine. That's the medical management of adult medical diseases. No surgery, can't stand sight of blood. No pediatrics, can't damn kids, we're trying to say, you know. Internal medicine. He specialized in medicine, a medical cure for everything. A diagnostician. No matter what's wrong with you, I could give it a label, and I could always give it a pill. A name for your illness and a pill to cure it. I had a pill for every ill. I specialized that, and she did such a good job working my way through medical school. I let her work in the office, and like she said, for no pay, but we worked for 30 years, built up a large practice, and very ethical practice, very ethical practice. Even had my own version of Hippocratic Oath, in that I never ever gave a patient a pill that I hadn't first tried out on myself. But I never became a pillhead. Pillheads, they take pills to get high or to get loaded, or, you know, for the effect of the pills. I never did that. Or you ask a doctor why one of their patients takes too many of their pills, why they get hooked on, they'll always tell you the same thing. They abuse them. They abuse the pills. I never abused any pills. I don't even know how you abuse the pill. You stamp on it, you throw it against the wall. You know, not me. I was very respectful of my pills. I had a special little pocket for them. One of these little pockets. That's a pill pocket. You keep your pills there. And, they were very tiny little pills anyway. I never ever took a pill unless I had the symptom. I never ever took a pill unless I had the symptom that only that pill would relieve. I always had it. I either had it or I could feel it coming on. And so every pill was medically indicated at the time and prescribed by a doctor and taken according to directions and dispensed by a pharmacist. And Max and I we worked on each other, and today it's like it's instead of being like crossed swords, it's like Elsa C says. It's like we each have our own program. She has her program, I have my program. It's like two railroad tracks, separately but together, going in the same direction, with all those ties holding us together. And it's a terrific way to go. Terrific way to go. Every alcoholic ought to have an Al-Anon. At least one. You know, we work our programs together. We can help each other, and it's a nice way to go. Max and I have been married. Geez, the end of this year, 2nd of December of this year, we will have been married 48 years, and we've been. Actually, we've been emotionally involved to very varying degrees of intensity for over 60 years. Wow is right, yeah. As a matter of fact, as I often say, the young people today, just don't have what it takes to put together a relationship like that. They just don't have what it takes to put together a relationship like that. For one thing, you've got to be very, very old. But you never know if they hang in there long enough. But it's like Angie says, the only two rules for being an old-timer, the only two rules, just don't drink and don't die, you know. And my feeling is if we can make it, hell, anybody can make it. I ended up in the nut ward. That's what I did. Ended up in the nut ward, and they had the strangest ideas there. They had the strangest idea in the nut ward. I was in the nut ward of the hospital. I was on the staff. Even though I was on the staff of the hospital, I didn't understand their philosophy. They had the idea. They were thoroughly convinced, as a matter of fact, that somehow the quality of my life would be vastly improved if I learned how to make leather belts. And I couldn't understand that at all. I never understood that. I could not understand how my life would be improved in any respect if I learned how to make leather belts. I didn't understand the philosophy, and I couldn't understand the instructions. And I have no idea why it is that going to AA. I've never been to an AA function where they had an occupational therapy booth or anybody giving instructions in leather belt making. And yet, for some reason, and I went back to that hospital after a few AA meetings. I went back to that hospital and I made the most beautiful pair of moccasins you've ever seen. Really beautiful moccasins, really nice. I wish I had brought them here tonight. They looked good, they felt good, they wore real good. I used to wear them every chance I got. And I'd wear them all the time. The tongs would break, I'd repair them, and they not only did they fit good, look good, and they wore good. It took 7 years. 7 years. It took 7 years before those moccasins wore out, to the point where I couldn't repair them anymore. And I felt bad about it. Not bad enough to go back and get another pair, but I did feel bad about it. And apparently Max felt bad about it too, because for my 7th AA birthday, my dear all-known wife had my moccasins bronze. And I love my bronze moccasins. I've always kept one at home and one at the office, and I remember where they came from. I won't have to go back and get another pair. I just love them. They're not nearly as comfortable now, but I still love them. I started going to these dumb AA meetings, and I heard somebody say something about. I heard somebody get up. There was two things said close together toward the end of that 7 months. One of them was that somebody got up there and they blurted it right out. They said, I was judging me by my intentions, and the world was judging me by my actions. I was sorry they said that. I am one of the best intentioned. I will, in all humility, I will tell you, I am one of the best intentioned people you'll ever meet. They just don't make much better intentions than mine. I always had good intentions for you and me and everybody. Everybody I like. I have very good intentions. I've often said, I don't usually go to meetings, but of all the meetings, movies. I mean, I don't often go to movies, but one of the movies I identify with was Amadeus. What was his name? Salieri, the guy in the movie Amadeus. He wanted to be a famous musician. He had the talent, he had the energy, he had everything he needed for it. All he needed was for God to make him famous, and then he was going to give God all the credit. And he ended up in the nut ward trying to commit suicide. And I thought, gee, that's a bum deal. I really identified with him, because I had done that too. I had the same kind of deal with God, Al. I had the potential, I had everything I needed. I was going to discover the cure for cancer, the common cold, and high blood pressure. Now, God knows what that is. He could have told me. It would have been easy for him to make me famous. You know? And once he did, I was going to give him all the credit. All he had to do was he'd make me famous first, and then I would make God famous. And I didn't think I was asking very much for it. I thought it was very little to ask of it. He could easily have done that. And he never bought it. In fact, instead of making me famous, he made me anonymous. And then it was about that time somebody stood up at an AA meeting and they said, I'd rather be in AA by mistake than out there by mistake. Oh, jeez. That phrase has changed my life, really. Changed my program, changed my perspective. I'd rather be in AA by mistake than out there by mistake. Because when I heard that, I was busy making a list of things you had done that I hadn't done that somehow was going to prove that I didn't belong here. And I also was making a list of things that were wrong with AA, so that when you agreed that I could leave, you'd ask me what I thought of the place, and I could tell you, say how you could fix it up. And I was good at that. The Bible says if you have a talent, you should use it, or it'll be taken away from you. And I happen to have a talent as a fault finder. I can see the fault in things, and I know people like to know what's wrong so that they can fix it up. They like it. Great. And I thought it occurred to me, I still have both lists. I know he's asked me for them. There's not much market for that in AA. But what does it cost to be out there by mistake? What does it cost to be out there? To this day, it just amazes me. It just amazes me what alcohol does to nice people like us. The disease part, the physical part, the allergy part. It amazes me what alcohol does to nice people like us who are allergic to it. And to what it does to the people who live with and love those of us that are allergic to it. the tremendous effect it has on our lives. What does it cost? What's the inflationary cost of being a practicing alcoholic or a practicing pre-Al-Anon? And yet what does it cost to be in AA and in Al-Anon? We give up drinking in AA and feel sorry for ourselves that we can never drink again. I don't know why, but the thought occurred to me as I was watching television. It was talking about AIDS and how there's no real treatment for it. And I thought, I wonder how many AIDS patients you could say, hey, you could have this thing in complete, total, permanent, beautiful remission. All you have to do is never drink again. You think they'd buy the deal, or you think they'd feel sorry for themselves? We're very lucky people. All we have to do is just not drink. Learn how to not drink. The funny part of it is, in order for me to learn how to not drink, I had to learn a way of life so that I could not drink. And it happens to be the answer not only to my drinking problem, but every problem I've ever had. I don't believe I ever have had a problem. I don't now have a problem. I don't believe I ever will have a problem, nor do I believe anybody will ever come to me with a problem such that the answer isn't in the steps. That's tremendous knowledge. That makes me a powerful person. Powerful, not a powerful person, but a person with tremendous power. This is a powerful thing we fool around with and make jokes with and laugh about here. It's a powerful thing. I love to hear drunkalogs. I love to hear the stories. I'm fascinated with what alcohol does with it. I'm fascinated with how well we get when we get well. Men who've been drinking every day for 30 years, drunk every day for 30 years, come to AA, never have another drink again as long as they live. Amazing. Amazing. The story is just amazing. If this thing wasn't keeping me sober, I'd still come back just to hear the stories. It's just amazing. If you're new here tonight, the good news is you don't ever have to drink again. Don't ever have to drink again unless you want to. The bad news is, if you do drink, you're not going to enjoy it anyway. You're going to screw up your drinking. So we're glad you're here. I don't have any trouble with not drinking today. My problems today aren't with not taking that first drink. I've been, at the end of July of this year, it'll be 20 years since my last drink, since I turned into an alcoholic. Yeah, you should applaud. You should applaud. You've done a good job. I'm thrilled with, and I'm very impressed with what you have done with what I gave you to work with 20 years ago. You've done a good job. But my problems today aren't drinking problems. My problems today are thinking problems. Any problem I have today is a thinking problem. In fact, anytime I think I have a problem, I think I have a problem. As a matter of fact, I have never thought I had a problem and been wrong. I determine, it's interesting to me to find out that I determine whether or not I have a problem. Not only that, I determine the size of my problem. If I think it's a big problem, doesn't matter what you think, I got a big problem. Now I think I got a little problem, doesn't matter what you think, I got a little problem. The bad part about it is that whatever I think about gets greater. I magnify whatever I think about. I can take any little problem and just think about it a little bit. Just think for a minute. I can take any little problem, think about it. I have very few little problems because I just think about them a little bit and they become big problems. In fact, I can take a non-problem. I can say, well, hell, you can see that's no problem for God's sake. But if you think about it a minute, it could be. And pretty soon I'm thinking, by God, it is kind of a problem. Just not a... And then pretty soon I'm thinking, by God, it's a good thing I'm looking at this. Everybody else is missing this. This really is a problem. And think myself right into a terrific problem. I'm sure you alcoholics are all quite familiar with the 20 question thing and you're substituting the word thinking for drinking, but maybe the Al-Anons could use a little help with this. If you look at the 20 questions, say if you have 2 or more yeses, you definitely have a problem. If you have 3 yeses or more, you're definitely alcoholic. But if you substitute the word thinking for drinking, then you get questions like, do you lose time from work due to your thinking? Or really dumb questions like, is your thinking making your home life unhappy? Do you think because you are shy with other people? Is your thinking affecting your reputation? Have you ever felt remorse after thinking? Have you gotten into financial difficulty as a result of thinking? Has your ambition decreased since thinking? Do you crave a think at a definite time daily? Do you want to think the next morning? This is a dumb one. Does thinking cause you to have difficulty in sleeping? Ambition decreased since thinking. Do you crave a think at a definite time daily? Do you want to think the next morning? This is a dumb one. Does thinking cause you to have difficulty in sleeping? Many a night my body wants to lie down and go to sleep. My brain says, no, let's lay here and talk about it a little while. You know? In fact, even in the middle of the night, they say, hey, wake up, we need to talk to you. You know that thing you thought you handled so well today and they were so pleased with it? Wasn't like that at all. You know? They're really ticked off at you. Wait till morning. You know? They wait a few minutes and then they think, by God, as a matter of fact, you did the same thing about 6 months ago. You remember so-and-so? And they bring up that. In fact, you've done a lot of dumb things in your life. You don't want to write your 4-step, by God, we'll stay here and take it tonight, right here. Talk, talk, talk. Is your thinking jeopardizing your job or business? Do you think to escape from worries or trouble? Do you think alone? You can't all answer yes to it, but I can. The one that says, has your doctor ever treated you, or have you ever been in a hospital or institution on account of your thinking? But the one I like best is the one that says, have you ever had a complete loss of consciousness as a result of thinking? Yeah. I shouldn't have said my name is Paul and I'm an alcoholic. I should have said my name is Paul and we are alcoholics. I'm not alone up here. My head's a very busy place. You think there's a lot of people in this room. It's nothing like my head. And I've got personalities up there I haven't even used yet. There's a lot of people up there. And each one has their own pet thing that they say over and over. Some you can't even hear. Some have a very loud voice. And the more you listen to them, the louder the voice becomes. For years, I would hear these voices, and I thought they were inspirations. I thought they were God. I thought they were orders. I thought there was something they had to do. And I found out in the AA, they're just suggestions. There's one of them up there, a very loud voice. And no matter what went on, he'd say, well, I'm going to have a drink. And we'd all march off and have a drink, you know. They have one particular thing they talk about, and I didn't know they were there at all. It's like a committee. They say anything run by a committee, other than this group, this thing this weekend, is not well run. And my whole life has been run by a committee. And this great big committee in my head, and nobody told me I was supposed to be chairman. And whatever somebody said, that's what we did, you know. And it's just amazing that I've gotten this far. It drove me to drink for years. And they all say there's one of them up there that doesn't like Max. Never has liked Max. Did you see what she just did? Or did you hear what she just said? You don't have to put up with that crap from that woman. You know, they're always saying things like that. You know? And I find out there's one up there that, till recently, had a very soft voice. I don't know that he talked or I didn't hear him before. But now he says things like, isn't she terrific? Aren't you lucky to have her? Doesn't she have a great sense of humor? Aren't you just the luckiest person to have in the world? Do you recall, Stella, that she's the one who, when you found out she liked to go to AA meetings with you, and she would talk smart, you would punish her by not going to AA, and she's the one that got in the car and drove to Laguna Beach from Anaheim, something she couldn't do, but she went to AA meetings by herself. And you might not be in AA tonight if she hadn't done that. It reminds me of little things like that. And I got all kinds of people in my head. I got one of them that's afraid. Afraid of everything. No matter what it is, he's afraid. Oh my God, don't do that. They'll all laugh at you. You'll screw it up and they'll just laugh at you. He doesn't want to lead the meeting? Oh no, don't lead. Want to sponsor somebody? Oh no, you're not ready to sponsor. Talking to me? Oh no, you don't talk to me. 12-step? Oh heavens, you've not been on the program long enough to, whatever it is. Oh my God, don't do that. You'll screw it up. Yet there's another voice up there. The more I listen to it, the louder it is, the clearer it is to hear it, and the easier it is to follow it. The voice that says, man, as long as you got this program, you can go anywhere and face anybody and do anything. And you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to fear because there's no way anybody or anything can harm you except to make you take a drink. That's the only way anybody could harm you is to make you take a drink. And with this program, nobody and no thing can make you take a drink. So you can do anything you want. Yeah. I've got all these voices, and I can listen to all the different ones. I don't have to follow. It's like in AA. I listen to all the voices, and I pick and choose. And I listen to the voices in my head, and I get some goofy comments and thoughts. And some of them even use dirty words. And I say, well, now, thank you for participating. Now, if you'll sit down, we'll call on somebody else. Everybody gets a chance to talk. And like in AA, and we listen to them all, and pick and choose the ones we want to. And I have the feeling that the more I get to know me, and the way I get to know me is that I tell you who I am, and I see me reflected back in your eyes, and that's how I get to know who I am. And as I know more, it's an interesting thing. It's a very comfortable thing. There's nothing bad about me, nothing negative or disagreeable about me that I know that somebody in AA doesn't know because I told them. That's a very comfortable situation. And as I learn more negative things about me, I'll talk about them, I hope, I'm sure, I feel confident I will. And I will and now that reflects back to me from you, I'll know who I am. And I'm very interested in the communications in AA. The communication I've learned in AA. Because as I understand the way this thing works, wow, it works fast, doesn't it? The way this thing works, we have a medical problem, a spiritual answer, and we have to give it away to keep it. And that communication is a very important, interesting part of it. And to try to communicate with somebody is an act of love. Whether it's just sitting and listening like you're doing now, or whether it's standing and talking, which I'm doing now, or whether we do it on a one-to-one, or whether we're listening to a newcomer, or whether we're talking to a newcomer, or encourage somebody not a newcomer to talk, to become a good listener in AA and then take that home. Hard to practice this program at home. Much easier to practice it in meetings and then strangers. And I found it hardest to practice at home on a consistent basis, and the hardest to be accepting at home and on accepting of myself and of Max. She's so close to me. And yet that's the most important part. But I've been interested in the communications and trying to communicate communicate love without being either trite or sticky, gooey, sweet, super sweet, something or other. How to communicate a sense of love. How to make the other person feel important. That's what Lily and Sabrina, my two dogs, do for me. They act like I'm real important. And I, in turn, make them feel real important to me, because they are. And in that sense, we love each other. And, that's not hard. I can do that with people. I can try to make anybody feel important. Just pay attention to somebody. Just listen to somebody. Just be kind to somebody. Just do something nice for somebody. Do something for free and for fun, expecting nothing in return. Expecting nothing in return. If you expect anything in return, even appreciation, it isn't love. It's barter. It's a manipulation. But to do something for somebody else just to make them feel important, expecting nothing in return, that's true love. And that I can do. I mean, I look for ways to do that. In fact, somebody was saying here tonight, they said, tell them about the cup of coffee. And I said, I will if I remember it. And what they meant was that in order to make, as an act of love, to try to make Max feel important, I give her a cup of coffee. Isn't that nice? Max likes to wake up to no, Max hates to wake up. She just hates to wake up. So I don't know what she does with all this, where she stores all the sleep she gets, but she loves to sleep. But when she does wake up, she likes to look over to the left. On the bedside stand on her side, she likes to see a hot cup of coffee. Now, she doesn't like hot coffee, and she doesn't like cold hot coffee. She likes a cup of hot coffee with 3 ice cubes that haven't quite melted yet. If the ice cubes have completely melted, then she doesn't know whether they were there or not. And it kind of spoils her day right there because she has to turn it. Did you put the ice cubes in? She likes to see the ice cubes in the cup of coffee. So I get up and I go out. I always get up before she does. Always get up before she does. And I go take care of the dogs. I go tie my letters at God. And I go in and I say, it's time for Max's cup of coffee. And I get her cup. And I go, she doesn't like brewed coffee. She likes instant coffee. Not just any instant coffee. She likes U-Ban instant coffee. Level teaspoon. Doesn't like too strong. Doesn't like weak. Hates sweet coffee. Level teaspoonful of U-Ban coffee. She likes it with cream in it. She doesn't like cream. That makes it too cold. She doesn't like liquid cream, and she doesn't like milk. Hates milk. Makes it seem muddy. She likes powdered milk. Cream more. She likes powdered milk. Lots of that. Like 2 heaping teaspoons full of cream more. Level teaspoonful of U-Ban coffee. 2 heaping teaspoons full of cream oil, and you fill the cup with hot water from the hot water dispenser. Every house should have a hot water dispenser. And the hot water dispenser had to hire a man to come and install it. He had to drill a hole. In the stainless steel sink that replaced the perfectly good white porcelain sink that was there, and to install this hot water dispenser. And the hot water dispenser dispenses water at just the right temperature to put 3 ice cubes in it. And you have to be careful not to put too much water in because you have to leave enough room for the 3 ice cubes. And you walk in the darkened bedroom, and you're careful where you walk and don't step on her shoes or any of the clutter on the floor. And you don't want to make any noise. You don't want to wake up the tigress. And you get to the bedside stand, and you don't look for a bare spot, you look for a level spot. And you put down a cup of coffee, and you turn around and you walk quietly out of the room, and you hope that she will wake up. Don't make any noise. Hope she will wake up before the ice cubes melt. Now, sometimes you've been traveling someplace the night before, get home kind of late, you're not quite sure what time she's going to wake up, so once in a while you can put the ice cubes in that little cheese glass they used to drink out of, and you put the cup of coffee and the cheese glass both there, and then when she wakes up, if the ice cubes haven't melted, she will pour that in the coffee herself. She doesn't mind doing that once in a while. And the trick is now, you see, you give her a cup of coffee and she wakes up to that, sets her day, and makes her feel important. You do that, but that's the easy part. The trick is you have to do that and not expect her to appreciate it. You can't expect her to appreciate it. That spoils the whole thing if you expect her. And I have to admit right off, Max is very cooperative. She never appreciates it. Anyway, my relationship with Max is better. My relationship with my higher power is better. My relationships with my dogs are better. And since we came back from Seattle, I was asked to talk on a Sunday morning up in Fullerton, and on the way back from Fullerton, I stopped to see our daughter. Couldn't call her to tell her I was coming because the phone had been disconnected for lack of payment of the bill. And went to the place where they live, and it was a run-down, dumpy, old, fallen-down cottage with piece of cardboard nailed on the window that had been smashed out, and knocked and went in. A couple of kids let me in. Sunday early afternoon, bright sunny day. They're sitting there in the darkened room watching TV, and their parents are in the bedroom sleeping. And they went and got Ann. She came out and couldn't talk because one of the neighbor fellows came in, and he kept buttoning in. I said, "Can we go talk?" And went out in the car and talked. And it ended up I sat and talked to her for an hour and a half. I didn't, as a matter of fact. I didn't sit and talk to her. I sat there and listened to her. I did active listening. That's the key thing these days. You do active listening. You ask questions. When people call up newcomers who want to complain about anything, not newcomer or anybody else, they want to talk about a problem, you do active listening. You don't just sit and say nothing. You say, "Oh, is that so? Oh, and what else happened? Oh, how did you feel about that?" You ask questions. You lead them on. Get them to talk more and more and more. And you keep asking questions, you keep them talking, so you just can't stand any more of a thing. You know? Then they feel they've been listened to. So that's what I did with Ann. I let her talk. And finally it came out that she said she'd spend all week nagging him about his drinking. And he kept saying he'd do something about it on the weekend. When the weekend came, he sat and drank beer instead. And so all I had to keep saying to her was, you don't have to live like this. You don't have to live like this. You can go to Al-Anon anytime you're ready. Anytime you're ready, you go to Al-Anon. And she'd tell me more about him. Tell me more about him. I said, "Well, you don't have to live like this. You can go to Al-Anon." And finally I went home. And 6 weeks later, he called me. Never called me before, ever. Called me on a Sunday afternoon. He wanted to thank me for coming by and telling him what the problem was and what the answer was. He'd been sober in AA for a month. And now he's 10 months sober. And so it was one of the little fringe benefits of the program, to be able to carry the message to your own family. And that. We are very, very, very lucky people. I had a problem. I had all kinds of problems. I was drinking because of my problems. I wasn't drinking because I was an alcoholic. I was drinking because I had problems. I didn't realize that an alcoholic is a person who drinks to solve problems created by drinking. And I was drinking because of my problems. And you kept saying that Max wasn't my problem, and that she never held me down, poured liquor down my throat, so she wasn't the problem. And you taught me how to live without drinking. And the answer to my drinking problem has become the answer to all my living problems. And I devoted my life to first my physical sobriety. Nothing, no thing and nobody and no circumstances, no combination of them are more important to me than my physical sobriety. And right under that is my emotional sobriety, which is closely associated with my spiritual sobriety. I don't know how to separate them. My physical sobriety is very important to me, and I'm very conscious of who's determining my attitude today. Am I in charge of my own attitude? Because AA means altered attitudes. And very closely associated with those two things are my relationship with Max. I've decided that we've been married long enough now. It's time we decide to get along together. And I'm willing to go to any lengths to maintain that relationship. Any lengths. And it's just a wonderful way to go. You're a wonderful audience, beautiful. I said hot, and I'm sorry I talked so... No, I'm not sorry. I enjoyed it. Okay. It's been good for me. And it's good for me to be here and to realize how... The more I think about things that are bad, the worse they get. The more I think about things that are good, the better it gets. The more I think how great my marriage is, the better the marriage gets. The more I think of my relationship with my God, the more spiritual I become. The more I think about the good things, the gooder they get. The more I think about the bad, the badder it gets. And when I have a chance to talk like this and realize how much AA means to me, it just means that much more. And I said I'm an alcoholic, and I don't mean to say that I'm proud to be an alcoholic, because I don't know that it had anything to do with it. How could I be proud to be an alcoholic when I had nothing to do with it? You may say, well, you did have a lot to do with it. You're an alcoholic because you drank too much. I would question that. I don't know that I am an alcoholic because I drank too much, or did I drink too much because I'm an alcoholic. I understand that alcoholics have a tendency to drink too much. So I have a disease. I don't know where I got it. I didn't choose to have it, and it has nothing to do with me in that sense. But so I'm neither proud nor ashamed to be an alcoholic. But I'm very proud. Very proud indeed. I'm the proudest thing in my life. I'm very proud indeed. Very proud indeed to be a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I think that's absolutely terrific. I thank God for AA, and I thank you for my sobriety. Thank you.